Hey everybody. So, I want to talk about a couple of teams that I've talked about a lot this year, and if you don't like me talking about these teams so often, I'm sorry, but these have been two of the biggest stories of the season. These are two teams that have been in the news all year long, and two of the most polarizing stories of the season so far this year, just because of how dysfunctional the franchises are and how these teams are performing compared to how they were expected to perform. And the two teams are the Philadelphia Flyers and the Edmonton Oilers. And one of these teams I'm declaring done. They're not making the playoffs. It's over. Their year is over. And the other one is getting damn close with how bad they've been playing lately. So let's start with the Philadelphia Flyers. The Philadelphia Flyers are done. They are not going to the playoffs this year. They they made all these changes hoping to make a push, and they've made no push. They're just as bad. They're just as down in the standings as they were before the coaching change, before the GM change. Nothing really has changed with the Philadelphia Flyers. The Flyers are at the exact halfway point of their season. They've played 41 games out of 82. They are 15, 20, and 6, good for 36 points, only 1 point ahead of the last place Ottawa Senators in the NHL. So they're still almost a last place team. They are the worst team in the Metro Division. They're in their last 10 games. They're 3-5-2. Again, no push there, no good stretch to try and gain anything in the standings. Still looking like a last place team, and they have a minus 32 goal differential this year. I think that about says it all. There's no coming back with a goal differential that bad. This team is a last place team and will be a last place team for the remainder of the season. They're doing nothing. They're going nowhere. This team is done. All done. The Flyers can put a cap on their season. It's over. Trade some of your veteran guys like Simmons and Voracek for try and get some good high draft picks, and load up on first round picks or prospects and try and rebuild a little bit here. You have supposedly the goalie of the future in Carter Hart. Now you got to build around him. Trade your veteran players that are worth something and start the rebuild process. You can do a quick rebuild in Philly given the talent that they have. Provorov and Gostisbehere on the back end. Konechny's a good young player. Like you could potentially have this team good again in 2 or 3 years if you just kind of trade guys like Simmons and Voracek and McDonald now and get something for them, and you could have a quick turnaround rebuild with this Philly team, and it really wouldn't be that bad. Maybe bad this year, bad next year, and then become a playoff team again in 2 years. It's possible. They changed the GM. That fixed nothing. Fletcher hasn't even done much. They fire Hextall and bring in Fletcher, and he hasn't really done anything other than fire the coach. Like, he hasn't made any significant roster moves, so what was the point of even that? I don't get that. What if they were going to change GMs, which I wasn't against, they needed to bring in someone who's going to make drastic changes quickly. Fletcher hasn't done that at all, so I don't understand the GM move at this point. They waited way too long to fire Dave Hextall. The Flyers have been playing a little bit better. They've looked better, at least under Scott Gordon, but the record is still garbage, so they're not going anywhere in the standings. The moves that they've made have not paid off, at least as far as making them better in the short term this year. So I'm officially declaring the Flyers dead. They will not be a playoff team this year. They are a last place team, and it's just been a nightmare of a season for Philadelphia. I would try and do a quick turnaround type thing where maybe you're bad for a couple of years and then right back in it. Similar to what Boston did, where they missed the playoffs 2 years in a row and then made the playoffs a couple years ago against Ottawa, then made the playoffs again last year and got to the second round, and now they look like a playoff team and a pretty good team again this year. So a Boston-type quick turnaround would be a good idea for the Flyers, I think. Moving on, the Flyers are dead. Now we have the Oilers, who are pretty damn close. And it's mostly because of what they've done over their last 10 games, which is absolutely suck. They've gone right back to being what they were like under Todd McClellan at the beginning of this year. 2-7-1 in their last 10 games. They lost all the ground that they made up under that initial boost they got under Ken Hitchcock. They are also at the halfway point of their season, 41 games in. They are 19-19-3 with 41 points, so not in as bad of shape as Philly, which is the only reason I'm not calling them dead yet, is because they are higher in the standings. They have a minus 17 goal differential, which is just, I mean, come on. How can you win in the NHL with a goal differential like that? You can't. It's not possible. And like I said, they've been awful in their last 10 games. So this is a team that's a little more interesting because they've hung around at 500 for most of the year. Then they got a huge boost when Ken Hitchcock became coach, and they moved up into a playoff spot, and it looked like they were taking off on a run, going to become the team that we all thought they could be at their best and make the playoffs and be a good team. And over the last couple of weeks, they've given it all back. I think initially under Hitchcock, they won like, I don't know the exact number, but I think they won like 10 of their first 15 games under Hitchcock or something like that. They were like 7-3-2 at one point. Like, they were really good. I don't know the records off the top of my head, but they were really good under Ken Hitchcock when he first took over. But that's normal. Every team that changes coaches, not every team. Nothing's anything in the NHL. Most teams get a boost when a coaching change happens, and for the first couple of weeks, they play much better under a new coach. That's just generally how it goes. The teams that actually the coaching change worked and made a turnaround on continue that boost for the rest of the year. For the teams that are actually just bad teams and it didn't work and it's just a quick boost, go back to being like they were before. And unfortunately for Edmonton Oilers fans, this team has gone back to how they were before. They got that initial boost. They climbed in the standings. They got into a playoff spot. Things looked like they turned around. Things looked good in Edmonton. And they've given it all back. Chiarelli's made some minor trades trying to fix their defense, which is in utter shambles right now. He brought in Alex Petrovic. He brought in Brandon Manning. Trading for bottom pair defensemen is not going to be a quick fix and drastically change any team, let alone the Oilers. Those moves haven't really made much of a difference to this point, even though they only got, just happened, but no sign of any significant change. Back to a 500 team, back out of the playoffs by a few points, and things are not looking good for the Oilers. So the Oilers need to go on a run like now. They've got important divisional games coming up against Anaheim and San Jose. If you watched my last video on Games of the Week, both of those I have listed as Games of the Week. Edmonton needs to go on a run now if they want any chance of making it. If not, their season is going to be over like Phillies is sooner rather than later. So Edmonton is not dead yet, but they are getting pretty damn close. And if this trash continues, they're going to be dead within the next couple of weeks. So the Flyers are all done. They're not making the playoffs. The Oilers are getting really close to not making the playoffs. They've been absolute trash for the last couple of weeks. Lost last night to the freaking LA Kings 4-0. Shut out 4-0 by one of the worst teams in the league. What the hell are you doing, Edmonton? You're real close to being all done. So those are the two teams that I want to talk about that because of where they're at in the standings and how close their seasons are to being over. For Phillies, I think it is over. Edmonton, if they have another bad week, they're going to be over. They're going to be out of it too. So with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media, check out offthewallhockey.com. All those links are in the description below. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon and merchandise store are in the description below as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.